What's up, everybody? Thanks as always for supporting the show. It would mean a lot to me if you would take a second to scroll down and hit that subscribe button to the Hoops Tonight YouTube channel, and then follow me on social media on TikTok, Instagram, and Twitter so you guys don't miss any of our content over the course of this season. All right, let's talk some basketball. All right, let's move on to Pacers-Sixers, the Tyrese Haliburton show. I thought the way that he picked apart the Sixers defense in this game was super impressive because there's three layers to the pick and roll attack, right? There's the on-ball layer, there's the roll man layer, and then there's the weak side layer, right? And you have to be a legitimate threat at all three layers in order to make yourself difficult to guard there. And Tyrese just kind of slowly built this fear in the Sixers defense that manifested in a shit show of a defensive quarter for the Sixers in the fourth quarter. And I wanted to kind of break that down. So it started with pull-up shooting, right? So Tyrese makes 4 pull-up threes in the first half. And by the way, he's up to 25 for 62 on pull-up threes this season. That's 40.3%. And that essentially put the Sixers in a position where now they're starting to consistently come out to the level of the screen. And it just in general, they're overreacting to Tyrese Haliburton on-ball reps, right? Then he started burning them on the weak side by hitting cutters coming out of that weak side corner. Obi Toppin in particular had a bunch of these in this particular game. We're going to talk about Obi Toppin later, but one of the big things that's made him a seamless fit with this Pacers team is that he just is a very good cutter. And he's been one of the best cutters in the NBA to start the season this year. So if you're burning a team at the point of attack by hitting pull-up jump shots, which is pulling the roll man, the screen defender out, and you're also burning the low man, because when the low man comes over to tag the roller, that's where the cutter's open, right? If you're consistently burning that with cutting out of the weak side corner, that can open up some things where the roll man has some space, right? Because if you're taking away the on-ball guy and the low man's hesitant to help, there's opportunity in there for the low man. And what was interesting is Miles Turner was in foul trouble all night and had 15 points in the fourth quarter of this game because he was just getting all the space in the world to kind of navigate and operate in that short roll area. And again, it was so funny because in the fourth quarter, it was a total shit show because the Sixers just had no idea what to do. On the possessions where they didn't tag the roller, Miles Turner would get a bucket. There was a possession where they tagged the roller and Tyrese Haliburton just throws a lob and Obi Toppin comes flying in from the weak side, just dunks on Tyrese Maxey's head and screams and yells. And then it's final Embiid kind of runs a more traditional drop coverage and Tyrese Haliburton just hits this amazing right-handed scoop shot off the glass. There was another possession late where Embiid kind of did his quick show, but then quickly recovered back to Miles Turner, and Haliburton just bam hits a left-hand step back dribble onto the left wing and knocks down another pull-up three-point shot. They just had literally nothing they could do with him. He absolutely and utterly picked them apart. And again, guys, this is an elite defensive team in the Philadelphia 76ers. No one was safe. Now, again, we'll talk about, I'm not going to talk too much about the Sixers today because I want this to be more of a Pacers focus. But Tyrese Maxey did not have a good defensive game, and he's still a young defensive player, is super active and is always playing hard and has good quickness, but his defensive instincts and anticipation are just a little bit off. And he was responsible for a few of those early Tyrese Haliburton pull-up threes, and obviously at the point of attack, he couldn't hold his own in the fourth quarter and was in trail position too frequently and not applying good back pressure. Obviously Tyrese Maxey is a weak point there, but the rest of the lineup that you have out there is good defensive players, and he was just completely picking them apart. Tyrese Haliburton, I should say, has been the best pick and roll player in the league by a mile to start this year. He's run 218 pick and rolls that have led to 283 points. That's 1.30 points per possession. That is preposterous. There are 30 players in the NBA to run at least 100 pick and rolls so far this year, and Tyrese is comfortably ahead of the field. He's at 1.3. Luka Doncic is in second place at 1.11. We're not talking about a small gap here. That's a 17% gap. He is 17% better than the second best pick and roll ball handler in the league. And so again, we talk about that dynamic of the three different levels of pick and roll shot creation, right? Shot making, at the point of attack area, the roll man, the weak side, and obviously passing is the connective tissue that puts all those three together. Passing from the ball handler to the roll man or to the weak side corner, passing from the roll man to the weak side corner, like that is all connective tissue there. But Tyrese in particular puts it all together because he is great in all three areas. So we talked about the pull-up shooting, obviously 40% on pull-up threes. For the season, a Tyrese Haliburton pull-up jump shot is worth 1.22 points per possession. That's insane. We talked about like that. We talked about this with the Nuggets, but the idea of what's untenable for a defense to allow. Like, you want to know why the Nuggets were just letting Paul George and Kawhi work one-on-one and take tough pull-up jump shots? Because they'll probably make half of them. And they're mostly twos. So that's a point per possession. That's a totally acceptable, arrangement for a defense. And in all likelihood, they're probably only going to make 45% of them. And now you're down at, 9/10 of a point per possession, right? You have to be able to cause such, destruction to a defense that it's untenable for them to continue. And when you're getting 1.22 points per pull-up jump shot, that is a real easy way to have opposing coaches like, hey, we got to show high on this guy. Like, we can't give him this shot. If he does, he's literally going to kill us. And that's literally what happened in the first quarter when he sat there and made the shot time and time again, right? Then he's got this deadly floater in the mid-range. He's 13 for 23 on floaters this year. That's 56% or 1.13 points per shot. That's really good. And then he's 66% in the restricted area on 2.3 makes per game, which is not amazing, but it's solid. It's perfectly fine. I would even argue it's a little above average for an NBA guard. And we talked about that little scoop finish that he had over Embiid. Because Tyrese is not an elite athlete, but he's got good size, and I think he has elite start-stop quickness. I think he can get to his spots in large part because of his ability to go from those hesitation moves to good, quick, explosive dribbles, that first step to get to where he wants to go. And then he has all the shot-making stuff from there. But then you have to be able to make the reads. And it's funny. I hate, there's a certain amount of play. There's two different kinds of good playmakers in the NBA, in my opinion. There's the Jason Tatum, Giannis class, where it's or I'd even throw Kawhi Leonard in there in terms of relative to what he used to be, where it's this guy's starting to kind of figure out how to make teams pay for throwing the kitchen sink at him. And he, he's averaging 6 or 7 assists a game or whatever, Kawhi, went from a guy who just was just a flat out terrible playmaker to now he's good at it. He's not great, but he's good. He's fine. He's average, slightly above average type of playmaker, right? There's always a chasm though between those guys and the really good playmakers at the top of the league. And I've always thrown in Nikola Jokic, Luka Doncic, LeBron James in this group. Chris Paul is in this group when he was in his prime and he could score the ball more. Tyrese Maxey's in this group. And this is it's almost just a natural thing. I'm gonna get really nerdy here for a second. I'm a diehard Star Wars fan, but in the Star Wars universe, there's this concept of force sensitivity, right? So the Jedi would find all the young kids in the galaxy that had a connection to the Force, and they bring them to the temple and they train them, right? That's kind of the way I view high level playmaking in the NBA. It's you either have it or you don't. It's not something that can be taught. It's not something that even looks the same for every player. There are just some guys in the league that have a natural affinity for making lightning quick decisions and that can quickly interpret everything that's happening on the floor, and it comes natural to them. It's not I got to the point where I could kind of make some reads. It's they relentlessly make the reads, and it's hardwired into their system. And I think we can pretty safely say at this point that Tyrese Maxey is one of those guys. And there is a skill element. I want to be clear. We talk about energy transfer for jump shooting, right? Transferring energy from your feet through your handle all the way through the jump shot, right? Or that that fluidity, right? The fluidity between transferring from your handle into a jump shot. The same thing applies to passing. You need to be able to make a retreat dribble, but let's just say you make a right-handed through the legs crossover to your left hand in a retreat dribble because you see a pressure in your face, and you need to quickly throw a left-handed skip pass across the court. I think young players in general need to practice this. I saw a video of Jalen Hood-Schifino for the Lakers, who's trying to come back from a knee injury, I believe. And he was doing a drill with the Lakers staff where he was working on movement shooting. But what they did to kind of get it started is they had him take a retreat dribble and pick and roll and throw a left-handed skip pass. They just made him throw a left-handed skip pass to start every rep. And then he ran to the block and then cut through to the weak side corner, and one of the coaches hit him for a catch and shoot jump shot in the right corner. What I liked about that is that's an example of layering stuff in a drill to make sure you get reps, because it's hard to just be like, hey, we're going to practice left-hand passing today, but if you mix it in with stuff, it can matter. But again, there is a skill element. Tyrese Maxey is one of the best left-handed passers in the NBA. It's a vitally important skill. Again, specifically that left hand, because most pull-up jump shooters that are righties are most comfortable shooting pull-up jump shots when the ball's in their left hand. They want to drive left, hit that high hesitation, and then rise into a jump shot. And the main reason for that is their left foot is back. So their right foot's forward. It's natural footwork for a right-handed player. When you're coming towards your right as a right-handed player, you have to swing that right foot around, which adds an additional kind of physical exertion element to the shot, which just makes it harder, right? We all remember the video that was going around a while back with Cam Johnson and JJ Redick talking about right-handed shooters going to the right. They have to square up in midair. It's more challenging, right? So if pull-up shooting is a vital part of pick and roll, and most right-handed players are better pull-up shooting going to their left, then the ball is going to be in your left hand. And if you're going to make passing reads out of that, you're probably going to need to be able to make passes with your left hand. And so I wish it was a more consistent thing that we saw in player development among the younger players. But even if we assign that as a skill, which again, Tyrese Maxey has those, or Tyrese Haliburton has those skills down. He's got the handle, he's got the fluidity connecting the handle to his passing and to his shooting and all those different things. It's also just a natural ability. The dude just sees there was a play in the fourth quarter of this game where he hit, I think it was Obi Toppin, but I'm not certain. But it was on the right wing, and it was a broken play, and he lost control of the ball, and he was facing away from the basket, and he gained control and turned and identified a cutter out of the weak side corner, or out of the right corner, all in an instant. And threw a perfect little leading pass that just hit the dude in stride as he was going to the basket. And I'm this is just lightning quick instincts from this kid. It was a broken play. It wasn't even a textbook pick and roll low man read. It was a broken play where he just saw something break open. And he just doesn't miss these opportunities. He sees everything before it happens. I've been so incredibly impressed, and I had a ton of fun today diving into the Tyrese Haliburton film, as I keep trying to say Tyrese Maxey, thanks to that Sixers game. Obi Toppin, he had 27 in this game. He's averaging a career-high 11 points per game and a career-best 69% true shooting percentage, despite the fact that he can't really shoot, right? And still isn't particularly, I think he's right around 30% from three this year. So how is he having more offensive success than he used to have in this system than he did in other systems? He's doing two things extremely well. The Pacers have done a really nice job of just focusing him at what he's good at, right? And that's moving without the basketball, cutting. If you see the low man go over, instead of just waiting for a corner three, cut. And we've seen this with Aaron Gordon with the Nuggets, you can be a good spacer as long as you catch and dunk everything under the basket quickly. And that's kind of what it looks a little different because he doesn't have the matchup attacking piece that Aaron Gordon has. But it's similar to Aaron Gordon in the sense that with the inverted spacing, with Miles Turner doing so much dribble handoff stuff around the 3-point line and popping to the 3-point line so much, he's got kind of that whole baseline to work with. And Tyrese is just super good at finding him. He's a big target, similar to Aaron Gordon in the sense that it's just throw it somewhere up there and he's going to get it. The dunk he had at the end of the game, that backside lob, he's so high above the rim, it's just a massive target that you're throwing at. He has scored 17 baskets on cuts this year. That is the 7th most in the NBA. And then the second piece of it is just running his lane in transition. This is a team that pushes the ball a lot, and they've got guards that are willing to push the ball ahead. He's got 20 made transition baskets, which is the 12th most in the NBA. Defensively, he's still a mixed bag. He's so top heavy that he's kind of easy to knock off his center of gravity. You saw Tobias Harris have some success against him last night doing that. But he's found a role here, and he's excelling in it, and I'm happy for Obi Toppin. Miles Turner, we talked about the stuff he did on the roll. I won't get into that again, but just quick hands, quick decisions, and finishing and making free throws. That helped too because he drew a couple fouls down there. But he also got a couple of key stops on Joel Embiid just by keeping his body in front. He's one of the guys, too, that's like big enough to kind of hold his own down there a little bit. He had a play in pick and roll where he beat Embiid to his roll spot and took a charge. There was another play where Embiid tried to kind of force a quick ISO on him, and he had Embiid so flummoxed that he ended up shooting behind his head, and he got a miss. And then Embiid was frustrated, and then Embiid actually did meet him to the middle, and because he's frustrated, instead of just dunking the basketball, he tried to like pulverize the rim and ended up missing a dunk. Shout out to Miles Turner. I thought he had a big game. It's so hard to play well when you're in foul trouble because it disrupts your rhythm, and when you do get into the game at the end, it's like you feel like you're not even a part of the basketball game at that point. Yet he kind of stayed resilient through all that. Bruce Brown, he's been getting his face just, literally burned off by Tyrese Maxey over the course of the weekend, right? Gave him 50 the last time they played, but finally got some stops down the stretch of this game. Some big stops on Tyrese Maxey. Had a big semi-transition layup where kind of similar to what he did to D'Angelo Russell in the Nuggets series last year. We're coming up the left wing. The bigs are back in transition, but they're up at the level because they're getting ready for whatever Tyrese Haliburton is going to do. So there's kind of like this open space on the backside of the play, and he just goes right hard to the rim on Tyrese Maxey and gets a layup. I thought he played really well. I thought he's been a really nice fit for them. In the big picture, they're currently 7-4. They have the 7th best record in the NBA. They finally have some signature wins. I didn't have them on my power rankings yesterday because they had just one win against a team that is currently below 500. In fact, their first 5 wins were all against teams that are currently below 500. But since then, they've beat the Bucks and the Sixers, albeit the Bucks without Dame. They have the best offense in the league, 122 points per 100 possessions. They are a terrible defense, though. They're 28th in defense. The biggest issue on defense right now is they can't protect the paint. They are the only team in the NBA currently giving up over 60 points per 100 possessions in the paint. They're also 24th in defensive rebounding. And the rebounding's tough because they are a small team, and that's just going to be kind of the reality of their predicament. But I do think they can be better than they have been defensively. They don't force enough turnovers for being as athletic as they are. And just in general, I think they're capable of being a more aggressive perimeter defense, forcing turnovers and getting out in transition. And I think that'll be obviously the biggest thing that prevents them from being as good as they're capable of beating. Then my biggest question with this team right now is, where does Ben Mathurin fit into this picture? He only played 16 minutes all night last night. They closed with Buddy Hield in his spot. His scoring, efficiency, and usage are all down this year. And so I'm really interested to see whether or not he's going to get enough opportunity to continue his development here, if he's going to end up getting squeezed as a result of that as a result of that Bruce Brown signing.